Cubs are trying to sign Cody Bellinger, but they're being very patient with Scott Boras. Jon Morosi tells us why, and I'm going to talk about it. It's that number one prospect. How about Sammy Sosa? I thought he was going to get into the Cubs Hall of Fame, but he didn't, and he had some comments about it. Probably not what you think, but we're going to talk about those. The Cubs are signing a journeyman pitcher and more. Welcome to the Cubs Baseball Channel. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. I'm on vacation in Key West, but I'm still hanging with you guys. Let's get this thing started. Go Cubs. What do you say, everybody? I'm Mick Gillispie. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Cubs Baseball Channel. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and you can follow me at Broadcaster Mick on the socials. And I appreciate you guys being here again today. All right, let's talk about things that are going on in the world of the Cubs. And I want to start with what I think is the most significant thing going on right now, and that's Jon Morosi, a guy that I have a lot of appreciation for, one of MLB's best insiders. And he was talking about the Cubs, and he said that the Cubs sitting on PA, this is my words from what he said, and basically if Cody Bellinger's asking price is too high, the Cubs are okay going into the season without Belly. And look, this is why you go out and you try to develop prospects. This is why the Cubs traded Javi Baez. Would they like to have Cody Bellinger? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? Yeah, I do. But the bottom line is this. Him and his agent are asking for a lot of years and a lot of money. Probably more years and money they're asking than he'll be able to produce. And no one in baseball is paying that, or they'd have the deal done already. But the Cubs are the best fit, no doubt about it. So as this thing moves forward, the Cubs and Jed Hoyer, who I think's had a really good offseason as far as making deals that makes sense to the organization. You know, deals that have incentives. They have options. They have options that are triggered with incentives, right? They don't want to just go out there and hand someone a wad of cash without any kind of protection. Now, we all love Cody Bellinger. I think we've talked about it on here ad nauseum, how much we want to see him back in a Cubs uniform and what he means to the team. But I think what Jon Morosi is saying is if the Cubs don't get a deal that they feel comfortable with, and they go into spring training, they think that Hollywood Pete, what I call him, Pete Crow-Armstrong, will grow into that center field position and that he has the potential to be a star. And I think that that makes a lot of sense. I kind of am along the same lines. With that said, you still have first base. And I know they went out and signed Michael Busch, the 26-year-old prospect from the Dodgers, or actually traded for him. So they have him in that spot, Matt Mervis in that spot as well. They're going to be fighting it out. Who knows what's going to happen between now and, in the start of camp and the beginning of the season. But Bellinger would be the perfect fit to play the outfield, DH, and first base, be in the lineup every day. And for a guy who can do a lot of things with the bat and a lot of things in the field, I think it would be the perfect match to go to the Cubs. But at the same time, when you're negotiating, you love to have options other than just, hey, you know what? This is the guy. Here's the money, and you got to pay him. And so very interesting comments, but it makes a lot of sense. Now, we've also heard that Scott Boras is in no hurry to have his guys sign. I mean, he's got Blake Snell and he's got Jordan Montgomery and he's got Matt Chapman all out there as well. He likes to kind of play the field out, force teams to get desperate and then make moves. It doesn't always work, but it kind of feels like for the Cubs anyway, this is their opportunity to kind of swing back and say, hey, if you don't want to make a fair deal for us, if you don't want to do something that's good for both parties, we don't have to do it. Let's talk about Sammy Sosa. You guys have very, very different opinions on the Cubs slugger. And he is really one of the most polarizing guys that I talk about on this channel. I've told you my opinion is that it's time to forgive Sammy Sosa. I would have liked to have seen him in the Cubs Hall of Fame. I thought it was great when the Cubs did their Hall of Fame at Cubs convention, but think about the pop that they would have had if Sammy Sosa was there. Do I think Sammy did steroids? Yes. Is that cheating? Yeah, I know it is. But at the same time, there were a lot of guys that were doing that are in their team's Hall of Fames. And I just feel like, look, I mean, what's it going to matter at this point? He's not getting in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Hector Gomez talked to Sammy. Here were his comments. Whatever happens, my achievements and my home runs can never be erased from the board. Nothing and no one can erase those numbers. I want to be a Hall of Fame in heaven, not on earth. Look, I get it. It's probably very painful to Sammy to not get into the Hall of Fame with the 609 home runs and all the great memories that he's brought to Chicago. But at the same time, he didn't leave on great terms. He's not a player that anyone's really willing to go to bat for, which is kind of surprising to me. That I would think that someone at some point would really just be like, hey, let's cut Sammy a break. Heard guys like Ron Coomer on this channel have talked about how much they like Sammy, but no one's really gone to bat for him. And maybe he needs to do that for himself. I've told you guys before, I've known Tom Ricketts since he bought the team. I like Tom Ricketts. I consider him a friend. And I think that he's a really fair guy. And I think that if Sammy Sosa set up a meeting with Tom, they could get a lot of this worked out. I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but I just can't imagine a world where Tom wouldn't take the time to talk to Sammy. And I think that if those guys came to some kind of agreement that a lot of this would be done, the people that don't like Sammy, I think the minute you saw him at Cubs convention with the gear on, if he said the right things, I think you would forgive him. We're a forgiving society, guys. I mean, that's what kind of America is. We all F up stuff in our lives, right? But we got to forgive each other. And I don't forgive steroids. I don't think it was good for the game. I don't like the fact that they ruined a lot of the numbers that we love in the game. But at the same time, I also appreciate the fact that I had a lot of great Cubs games on television watching Sammy Sosa, and I think you guys have as well. All right, let's talk about Sam McWilliams. I thought this was really interesting. I mean, you talk about the title journeyman, right? This is a journeyman. I mean, I've seen this guy in a ton of different organizations over the years. And, he's always been one of those players who everyone's like, hey, this guy's right on the cusp of something. Came up with the Phillies, drafted by the Phillies, traded to the Kansas City Royals. I saw him with Tampa Bay. He was with them for a while in their minor league system. Was with the Mets in their minor league system. Got out of baseball, went to the Mexican League. He is what scouts absolutely love. He's a guy who in his career has a 4.41 ERA, 34 and 45 record. He's a starting pitcher, but he, analytically speaking, they love him. They love what he can do. They love the way that his ball moves. They're waiting on McWilliams to kind of pop, maybe he's one of these late bloomers. And that's what the Cubs are hoping for. Sometimes when you get away from the game and you come back, the game changes for you a little bit. Maybe you don't put as much pressure on yourself. Maybe you're a little bit more relaxed. But McWilliams is one of those guys to me that the Cubs are hoping can figure it out. And I'm guessing that's why they signed him. When I saw they signed him, I laughed, though, just because I've seen this guy in so many different uniforms and I've heard all the hype about him. Maybe this is the stop that gets it done. And I applaud the Cubs for, basically being creative. Sometimes you find players in a lot of different places. I remember one of the greatest scouts of all time, Gary Hughes, telling me that you never know where you're going to find a player. And maybe the Cubs have found someone in a spot where you really wouldn't expect it, like in the Mexican League after being out of baseball, right? All right, the final thing, and this probably could be done by the time that you guys watch this video, and that's Justin Turner. Justin Turner is at the point now where he's about to sign. And look, would I love to see Justin Turner in a Cubs uniform? I mean, yeah, it would be fun. Like, I like the beard. He's one of those pesky guys that probably don't want on another team, but you like on your team. I haven't heard a lot of buzz about Justin Turner coming to the Cubs. Maybe the Giants, maybe the Mets, maybe the Blue Jays. But look, if the Cubs could get him on the right deal, I could see that happening. He's kind of said that he's ready to make his intentions felt. Like he's ready to get this out of the way. So who knows? Maybe the Cubs are the destination for Justin Turner. You throw him over at third base and let him go. But no one has been talking about Justin Turner to the Cubs. And then all of a sudden, you're like, hey, the guy hit 21 or averaged 21 home runs and almost 90 RBIs over the last season. And maybe you throw him at third base and you let him go there. He's a pretty good batting average, like over 275. Decent OPS. Like let's give him a chance. Maybe that's going to happen. But I just thought it was interesting because I'm hearing the Cubs now all of a sudden in this Justin Turner mix. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out. Beautiful Key West on my vacation, but I wanted to drop this show. I feel like we got a lot of momentum going, and I did not want that to stop today. But thanks for hanging out. Make sure that you like and follow. Give us a thumbs up. Let me know what your favorite vacation spot is. And don't forget that the show is presented by the Tennessee Smokies, the Cubs AA affiliate. They are in Tennessee. They'd love you to come visit. They also want you to check out their team store, smokiesbaseball.com/team store. The guy we were talking about, Pete Crow-Armstrong, he's got some gear in there that's worth checking out. Thanks again, guys, and go Cubs.